This morning I'm going to be talking about the words of Christ. Actually, all month I'm going to be sharing some of the ideas and principles and teachings of the Christ based on the 4 volumes written about the teachings of Christ, written by Torkim Serderian. After all, we're moving into this very special time of year with the winter solstice and with Christmas, and particularly this time of this year being the 7th year, or that of the World Group of World Servers, the new group of World Servers. It's such a special time. It's a very powerful time. We're also moving closer to those days, or those days are moving closer to us, the Mayan prophecy. So there's a lot of emotions attached around the world, not just locally to this country, but around the world about these Mayan prophecies. And if you go on the internet, you're going to find from A to Z what these prophecies mean. It will be what it's going to be. But we need to ask ourselves, most importantly, are we ready for a change in consciousness? Are we as a humanity ready for a change in consciousness? So I believe that the Sunday Talks this month is going to challenge us to see if we really are in a place spiritually, functioning through that spiritual triad. If our consciousness is awake, if our consciousness is functioning in that spiritual triad, then yes, we will be ready for anything. Why is that? Because it means we are in contact with hierarchy. Or as we learned most recently in one of the Wednesday night classes, that the kingdom of heaven is hierarchy. I like the description of the kingdom of heaven because we were raised, most of us were raised thinking about heaven and wondering how we were going to get there. Now we have a little bit more substance to understand this kingdom as we read and understand and contact hierarchy. We know the head of hierarchy is the Christ. So this is what I will be talking about the rest of today and this month, is about the teachings, the words of Christ, the head of hierarchy. Also to keep in mind as life progresses, as life changes for us as a humanity, we know that not only did Christ speak through Jesus, but now the avatar of synthesis is going to be speaking through Christ. And we want to have a consciousness that is refined enough that we will be ready to receive the impulse of the energy of the avatar of synthesis. Today I'm going to be talking about 12 points that Christ emphasized. These 12 points are very, very important, and I think the author of the 2nd volume of the Teachings of Christ, which is Torkim, I believed he felt like we need to meditate on these 12 points. So this morning I'll be giving basically just an introduction to the 12 points, but if you have a good memory, you can remember all 12 points. If not, write them down. Okay, and let's think about these 12 points as we go into the Christmas season. The first point that Christ emphasized is that God is your Father. God is your Father. Now, he reminded us also that there are many kinds of gods. And if you have studied and read anything in Agni Yoga, one of the key phrases in Agni Yoga is by thy God, right? This is not a common phrase, but it is certainly a very impacting and powerful phrase, because it lets spiritual people release others to however they think God is, what their God is all about. Now, in the chapter that I was excerpting a lot of this information from, he reminds us that humanity has many gods. His God, this God, that God, right? But also the dollar God, the reputation God, the power God. But in fact, these are not God. These are not God. There is only one God, and that God is our Father. So that means we must shift our consciousness from what we see in our personal life as all important. It's not the dollar that's all important. It's not our personal position and power and ego and vanity that is our God. Let's not let these things be our guide. Even this beautiful verse that Richard read this morning about Blackie, Torquem's horse, was able to look in Torquem's eyes and convey a message. As much as Torquem loved that beautiful little black horse, even that black horse was not his God. So we must remember this, that there is only one God, and that God is our Father. The fatherhood of God was first preached by Christ. He made us understand that we are his sons and daughters. Isn't that beautiful? So if you felt like you had not a very nice father, or not a nice dad, or maybe you didn't have a dad, in essence, everybody, even if you are orphaned, has a father. God the Father. This means that we have an immediate connection with him. Can we remember this? When we think that we're the only one that can do this and that can do that and take care of this person and that person and handle this country or that country, we must remember that God is not far away. This is so cute. You can pick up the telephone and say, Daddy, right? Daddy, things aren't going so well today. Or, you can't believe what a beautiful day I have. It's been such a right day. Things are going so right. He is so close to us, but we don't realize it because our eyes and our ears and our personality life is so distracted by things that these things become our God. The power God, the money God, the problem God, and so on and so forth, instead of the one God, God the Father. Christ wanted us to know that God is our Father and he is here. He is here. He says, I've never left you. We talked about this last Sunday. He said, I've never left you. But we walk away from God because of all these other gods in front of us that are not really the God. So that's the first one. The second one is the brotherhood of man, the brotherhood of humanity, of which we are a part. So that means that we are part of the brotherhood. But this is so difficult. And why is it? Because we hate each other so much. We have this nation, we have that nation, and the nations work against each other. I mean, we certainly are seeing it in the news today. They are ready to kill each other. Families and individuals are so intense. The mother abuses the child. The father divorces his wife. And families are separated because of hatred and jealousy. We are annihilating each other. It's sobering, isn't it? And yet, in the name of this church and in the name of that religion, we say we must love one another. But you have to be here and be a member and believe in the same word that I believe in. Otherwise, you're lost. See, that's not love. That's not compassion. And I think with the law of precipitation, that we as people become so confused. We read about the beginnings of Christianity, which was a bloodbath. Right? And then to balance that, as an antithesis, we talk about, I love you, I love you, I love you. Or a mother that says, I love you, or a father says, I love you, but we must punish you. And so our images as children, as we grow up, we're confused. What is love? So as parents, the parents abuse the child in the name of love. The father divorces the mother in the name of hatred. Or that, no, the love just didn't work out. But that's not what this universe is about. This universe, via the words of Christ, is about love, and it is about forgiveness, and it is about brotherhood. When we understand the brotherhood of humanity, then many problems are going to disappear. All these ammunitions and the things we are creating to kill each other, are heavily increasing our taxes, but they are going to vanish if we begin to see the world, if we begin to see humanity, if we begin to see mankind as a brotherhood and sisterhood. I think it takes courage to do this. Why courage? Well, we see some of our wonderful heads of state trying to practice this universal brotherhood, and we see how oftentimes they're assassinated. But that should mean a whole huge army should stand up behind that event and say, this is what I believe. I believe in the brotherhood of man. Christ was not preaching peace. I found this so interesting because this is not what we are normally taught. You know, peace can only come to us if we understand that the man about whom we are slandering is our brother, is our sister. All gossip, all hatred, all malice is going to disappear because you are my sister. You are my brother. I think we have to begin to take little steps as we change our consciousness, because then by taking little steps, we're not demanding so much from our little self. Right? And then as the capital S self finally comes into expression, then we're going to be representative of hierarchy, these great men and women. And these great men and women are coming forward into the world today. The perhaps unsung heroes. I haven't watched the CNN Heroes yet. I guess it's going to play again tonight, 6 o'clock, I'm told. But this gives us inspiration. It gives us hope that there are so many heroes around the world. Let us align ourselves to the work of these heroes and not align ourselves to the hatred of those who are not in the circle of brotherhood. We want to expand this circle by increasing brotherhood, the members of brotherhood. The third is goodwill. Christ taught goodwill in his teaching. Goodwill is so simple. It simply means to wish good. Wish good for everyone, and then to back up your wish. Wish good for everyone, and then to back up your wish. Now, you may live in a family that doesn't think this way. You may be in a family that makes so many demands on your time that you're so burdened that it is very difficult to wish good for that family. But you see, if you wish good for that family, what you're doing is expressing love, expressing compassion, and there is no greater healing energy than love. So if you can step outside or step aside from that little self and step into the big self with the beautiful, big, loving heart, you're going to change the consciousness of your family, and pretty soon the family will act as a unit instead of placing all the burdens upon you. Make people more comfortable than you are. More enlightened than you are. My goodness. If you stop to really think about this, that we're going to make our brothers and sisters, our friends, and so on, more enlightened than ourselves, this requires humility. Because today in the religious movement and even in the spiritual or esoteric community, our leaders say, you must be like me because I am great. If you are great, then put your greatness in your members. Put your greatness in the hearts of the people that are following you, so you create a union. No longer is that pulpit going to be 30 miles high in the sky to where they look down and we're just little ants. I remember the first teacher that I studied with sat in a peacock chair, and we up on a landing, like a raised platform, and we are all on the floor. So you look at that image, you know, we're looking up all the time looking up to that person. Well, we're getting smaller and smaller and smaller. See, but that's the Piscean age. See, now we are about brotherhood. We're about unity. And I believe if we truly believe this in our heart, this is when the gossip will stop, when the hatred will stop, when the malice will disappear. Because we're recognizing one another as our brothers. The world, on one hand, individual to individual, family to family, group to group, and nation to nation, oftentimes, if viewed through the more popular news media, is falling apart. You listen to CNN. But go to Link TV. It's a beautiful station, and they offer, it's truly international, where you see what's going on around the world. What's her name? Amy Goodman, yes. You know, is a wonderful journalist and courageous woman who is bringing the world together just through her journalism, her reporting. There's another man, Sergio, I can't remember his last name, who publishes the Good News Agency newsletter. Is trying to get us to focus on the good and what is happening and what the unity is. See, the dark forces want us to see all this separation, all the fear, to instill more darkness into it. But there's Trippi, Sergio Trippi, thank you. Because he's doing, sorry, it finally came. He's doing such beautiful work, the Good News Agency. If you don't have that coming into your computer every day, let me know and I'll send you his email so you can, or website, and you can register for it. We don't want to be, as a humanity, about spending millions of dollars on drugs and bombs and material goods instead of healing people. We want to be about healing people. But still, the disciples of Christ, of hierarchy, are increasing in numbers. Huge numbers, not just one or two or three, but huge, thousands upon thousands of members. And we are seeing more and more examples of people who really want to practice goodwill. We are seeing nonprofits all over the world, and NGOs who are doing all they can do to financially help individuals and countries. Health professionals who will, for no fee, try to bring medicines and goods to seriously ill children and mothers. In fact, we have a family who's a member of our group here that goes down to Guatemala once a year for free. In fact, they raise funds to get them down there. And then they have surgeries where they replace limbs, knees, hips, and other things because the people are so poor. And they do this on their own. I think it's just, I'm so proud of them. And they're so humble about it, you would never know that they're doing it. Christ demonstrated his goodwill by showing that he can even die miserably for the sake of human welfare. One day a professor came and told Torkim, Christ, Christ, Christ. You speak always about Christ. Do you have any historical evidence that Christ really existed? You are ignorant, he said. I will ask you a question. If you answer it, I will answer your question. What is it? Would you die for something that does not exist? Yes or no? Now tell me. What? Would you die for something that does not really exist? Well, I guess not, he said. No, there is no I guess. Tell me, if there is something that does not exist, would you endanger your life for that non-existing thing? Well, no, he said, I would not. Well, look, 12 disciples died for him, and millions died for him. Millions more are going to die for him. Do you think that he does not exist? If it is proof you want, that is the greatest proof. The fourth is peace. Christ spoke about peace. Every time he met with his disciples, he said, peace be with you. What does it mean? It means peace with each other, peace with God, peace with your conscience, and peace with what you are doing, where you are going. But really, do you have that kind of peace yet? Then one day when he was leaving his disciples, he said something very strong. He said, "My peace I leave to you, not the peace that the world gives to you." This is so interesting. So why is my peace different from his peace? See, why is our peace different from his peace? His peace was total harmony, total love for humanity and love for God, because he demonstrated in his life that he really loves us. And he really loves God. The fifth is forgiveness. This was one of Christ's main topics. He told many stories to people about forgiveness. Forgiveness is based on the science of knowing yourself. That is why he said that you do so many really bad things, but if someone does a little thing, you judge him. Go any place in the world and you will hear condemnation and non-forgiveness. But forgiveness has a very secret angle, and this is so powerful. For those of you who are not quite sure about forgiveness of certain things coming to you from certain people, he says you must forgive in a way that man does not do it again and again and again. Your forgiveness must not encourage his evil. I remember many years ago, a young woman who was having problems with alcohol kept messing up so badly, and then she would come to me and say, "Do you forgive me?" Even though it was the same mess over and over and over again. And so one day, when she came into my office ready, to go through the forgiveness thing, I just looked at her and I said, "Absolutely not." And it shocked her so badly that she stopped creating messes. So that took a little forethought. And then I worried about it for a while. Christ told a very interesting story about forgiveness. A man came to a rich man. He said, "Master, I owe you $10,000. Can you forgive me this debt? I don't have the money." The rich man looked at him and thought, "What am I going to do with this man? He doesn't have money. He doesn't have property. He is like a hippie. What can I do?" So he said, "Okay, I forgive you, and go in peace." Then the man went to the market, and he saw his friends. I bet some of you remember this story. That friend had borrowed from him. Now remember, this is the same guy that owed the $10,000 and couldn't pay it back to the rich man. And the rich man said, "Peace be with you, go in peace." Okay, it's that same guy that's going in peace now, okay, that is back in the market, and he sees this friend that had borrowed $1 from him, and he says, "Come here. Give me my dollar or else I'm going to kill you." That man said, "I don't have anything. Look, I don't even have a penny." The first man said, "If you don't give it to me now, I said I'm going to kill you." But the rich man was riding along on his horse through the bazaar, and he saw this fight that was going on. He said, "What's happening?" The terrified man that didn't have a penny said, "Master, I owe this man $1 and he's going to kill me if I don't pay it back." "He's going to kill you?" said the rich man, or the master. "Ah, take him to the police and put him in the prison until he pays me back my $10,000. Of course, this is a parable, and it has many dimensions. But do you want to be forgiven? If you do, then you must forgive your brother as well. For $1, don't make a mess. Just forgive him. If you will not forgive him, then you're going to go to prison. So you can see why I was a little worried. The sixth is Christ taught about the higher worlds. For example, he said, if any human being turns his face to the Father, to higher values, to light, to heaven, in heaven there will be great joy and festivities. Can you imagine this? Have you ever turned your face to the Father? Imagine things going on in heaven. Just imagine it. Do it. Do it and see what happens. The seventh is immortality. For the first time in history, we knew that man was immortal because he proved it. They killed him, he was resurrected, and then he disappeared. If you read about this, you learn that Christ gathered his disciples together on a mountain, and after blessing them, he rose into the air and disappeared. People were looking and wondering, what is happening? How can we not help dedicating our life to such a phenomenon? Christ, head of hierarchy. Do you understand that? He taught us immortality by proving he was immortal. He also said, you will do greater things than I did. Look at the greatness of that man, that great soul. He didn't say, I am your standard. If you be like me, okay, that is good. No, Christ opened it another way. He said, you will do greater things than I did. This was his greatest humility and beauty. The eighth is the science of service. How do we serve? Do we want to get paid for our service? Do we want to be recognized for our service, or can we serve without recognition? Now, most people start serving someone for something. Then later we say, well, people didn't recognize me. You know, they didn't pay me enough. And they didn't invite me out to lunch or this or that party, so I quit. Or they will think, I don't have to put my whole heart into this service, for I'm really just too busy making money right now. After all, I'm only a volunteer. I'll do it when I have a little extra time in my hand and not doing something else. The question we want to ask ourselves as we engage on this spiritual path, this path of striving and sacrificial service, is, did I put all of my heart into my service? Service is so simple. It is not a philosophy. Basically, service is to do good. To do good. Are we doing good? Do good. Do good everywhere and everything. You will be so blessed if you do good. It is written about him that he was a gardener, and he planted millions and millions of seeds doing good. So what harvest are we going to have? The only harvest that we are going to have is the fruit of our service. Communion. Holy Communion, this is number 9. Holy Communion is such a trans-sacred thing. Communion is the awareness that God is one within all. That is communion. It is Holy Communion. He said, "This is my body, this is my blood, eat it." And symbolically, we are eating God's body and God's blood and becoming one with Him. One with hierarchy. One with the Almighty Creator. This is so advanced. And number 10. This will be the last one. Purity of heart. What is heart? It is so beautiful, and yet it is also terrifying. The New Testament says, out of your heart comes evil thoughts, murderers, adulteries, fornications, thefts, false witness, and blasphemies. But these are the things that defile a person. Out of the heart comes also the streams of life. This is why in the teaching, so much of the teaching talks about the purification of our heart. In this teaching, Christ was telling us that our motivations, that heart is the motive behind everything that we do. So, behind everything that we do, we want purity, right motive. We want to be aligned with God the Father. That is His teaching. I'm reconnecting. I'm sorry, I have to laugh. What does that mean? We're reconnecting. Okay. If you have any questions, now is the time to ask. This is from the webinar or locally here. Do you have any questions?
I thought I heard 12.
Yes, but we only have time for 10.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Could you repeat number 8?
No. I'll tell you why. We don't have time. We're going to do questions. But what you can do, and I'm so glad you asked the question, is now that you have so many other ways to come back and listen to and watch our Sunday talks. One is the DVD. We have DVDs available now that you can order for each Sunday talk. But also, if you have broadband, I think it's called, you can, and you're on the internet with your computer, you can access White Mountain's YouTube account, the YouTube account, and you will be able to see this. I'm so excited to see the response of people to we've only been, online, 2 or 3 weeks, and Terry put up another YouTube video last night, and the oven just went off, and this was like around midnight. It finally, uploaded, and this morning there were 6 people that had already viewed the video. It's amazing. So what you can do if you like the video on YouTube, on the White Mountain account, that you really like it, what you can do is click like and share. And then where do you want to share it? With your Facebook. And you can put it on your Facebook. This will let other people know about our YouTube account and the videos. And look at how we are spreading the teaching in that way. Isn't that fantastic? So do it if you want to. Okay. Next week, I will be talking about the disciples of Christ. And I do encourage you to come. This is such an important time of the year. You know, it brings about so many memories and emotions of the past that we want to leave behind and focus on the now and focus on the future and align ourselves to hierarchy and Christ, the head of hierarchy. Let's bring ourselves into this wonderful environment of Christ's love and unity and brotherhood, and set aside, you know, our disappointments and our sadness and all the things that holidays seem to bring up, okay? Okay, so I'll see you next week. Thank you for coming.